Has Meghan been officially markled? Despite her desperate attempts to achieve A-level stardom, trying to be friendly with celebrities, inviting people she didn't really know to her wedding in hopes of networking and becoming friendly with some of the movers and shakers in Hollywood, are people starting to really keep their distance from the toxic brand of Harry and Meghan? And what does this mean for their future? Because I really do think they were banking on these inroads that they made at their wedding and then at other events, really making things easier for them, especially once they transitioned to Hollywood. I think Hollywood was always in Meghan's sights, but now that they're there, things are going rather poorly for them. And when you look at Meghan Markle's wedding, especially all the people that were there, her former best friend, Jessica Mulroney, who had a starring part basically at her wedding, who has been officially markled. You have George and Amal Clooney, who has seemingly been markled, David and Victoria Beckham, and so many other people like Priyanka Chopra. She's not really friendly with Meghan anymore. So what happened to Meghan's friends? Is everybody slowly being markled out of her life for not abiding by the commandments of Meghan? And what does this mean for her future as her circle gets smaller and smaller? Will the business prospects get smaller as well? So we'll be discussing a little bit of this today. But if you guys haven't been to Royal News Network, my name is Brittany. I provide compelling royal commentary. So if you guys want to subscribe, that would be awesome. We also have a weekly newsletter and a fashion channel. And I'm so excited because today I filmed a video where I tried on some of the beauty products that mostly Meghan, but sometimes Catherine wears. And I have to say, it actually turned out really well. I'm really actually pretty pleased with it. I'll be getting that video together and I can't wait to show you guys over on the fashion channel. And I do also have memberships I just launched, just for everybody to know, because I know some people mentioned some things. This does not change Royal News Network at all, really, but just if you just want a little bit of something extra, we do have that available. We have different tiers and you get little icons that tell you how long you've been a member. They're different colors. They got a crown on it because I made them. They weren't super complicated to make, but I did have to make them. And then I also, you have little like squares or things that you can add to like live streams and things. And one of them is Meghan Markle in the poop emoji hat. And then we have one with Catherine in a tiara, Maxima in a tiara, and one with Charles, William, and George at the coronation. So if you guys are interested in that, all the details will be down below. I think there's a little button you can press that says join if you are interested. I'd love to have you. Then we also have some news. So Prince William shared the Earthshot burger. Yes, he teamed up to do a video with YouTube. And so go ahead and check this out right here.
Hello everyone. Today we are reviewing some incredible gadgets that are literally changing the world.
And they should be arriving any minute.
Morning guys.
Royal Mail.
I brought you some Earthshot bits and pieces. I don't know if you guys have heard about the Earthshot Prize, but it's an initiative I started 2 years ago now, although it's been about 4 years in the making. I had hair when it started. And it's designed as an environmental prize, tackling the world's greatest environmental problems.
Is there a chance we could get you an Earthshot burger?
Yes, right. Absolutely.
Excellent. Can we have 4 Earthshot burgers, please, chef?
Wait.
Coming right up. Morning, everyone.
I think it's awesome the way Earthshot continues to grow and change, and I'm sure William and Catherine can't wait to see this thing really grow and blossom into something that really is a mover and shaker in the climate change industry, which it is becoming. Catherine also commemorated her early years project, and so go ahead and take a watch of this little bit of this video here.
As the campaign progresses, we'll explore in more depth the importance of a child's social and emotional world.
All right, I think it's great that the early years is really starting to blossom as well, and it seems like it's making great strides forwards. And obviously we're getting these videos as Catherine and William are going to be on break for most of August. We may see them, we may not. it's been a very busy year for them. So I imagine taking some real time off would be very much a relief. And most of Europe, most of European royals are usually off in August, so we don't see too much of them. The sole exception will be the video I did and uploaded on Sunday. So that would be yesterday. If you guys want to check it out, introducing the Norwegian royals, because the Crown Prince and Princess both have their 50th birthdays this year, and it'll be their wedding anniversary towards the end of August. So they are having a big celebration in part of that. So that's super exciting. And if you haven't watched my introduction to the Norwegian royals, you should check out that video because it is very cool. But like so many people want to talk about Harry and Meghan. And I came up with this video idea because I was thinking about it, and it talked about how Meghan had these new friends. And I'm like, well, who are these new friends? And they really couldn't name who the new friends were, just as she had kept Gayle King and Oprah Winfrey. And I'm like, okay, so she's kept two of her previous friends, but you look at the scorched earth that it seems like Harry and Meghan have left in their wake in terms of their friendship, their business arrangements, and their family relationships. And it really seems like they've tried to markle out every single person in their life that they no longer found useful. And I think that's really beginning to take a toll on their public image. And the one I find perhaps the most interesting is Jessica Mulroney. She was, again, Meghan's former best friend, and they spent a lot of time together. And when I was researching, looking for interviews of Meghan Markle before she got with Prince Harry, I came across this one with her and Jessica. So go ahead and take a watch here.
One of my closest girlfriends is here, Jessica Mulroney, who runs Kleinfeld's in Toronto, and she's helping me find the dress. Say yes to the dress. Suit style.
So we brought so many princess dresses. How are you? So again, with the kind of New York designers that I think would fit very well would be something like a Carolina Herrera.
Yeah.
Classic, beautiful.
At the Plaza. I mean, Rachel's been planning this wedding for a while. All right, well, I'm excited. So now we have to get changed.
Yeah, we got to do some trying
you guys
on.
have got to go, but we'll let you know what we end up deciding. Thank you so much for coming to Suits Wardrobe Tour. Thanks, Jess.
Thank you.
Yay.
I think it's really amazing that this friendship seemed especially close. These two women spent a lot of time together. I think Meghan is a godparent to her younger child, Ivy, and her children, Jessica Mulroney's children, were in Meghan's wedding. Her sons held her veil. Her daughter was a flower girl, and she was the extra special flower girl. Meghan actually sought her out, and she had a barrette in her hair instead of the little flower halo. So she got this extra special role. Not even Princess Charlotte got. They were more focused on Ivy. They were more interested in promoting Ivy between themselves and putting down Charlotte, which is part of the whole bridesmaids rumors. Jessica and Meghan seemed like two peas in a pod. Jessica seemed to be the one who also watched Archie a lot when they went out of town, like when they went back to the UK for a couple of days and came back after announcing Megxit. I believe it was Jessica who was partially in charge of watching Archie. And I don't think even Catherine and William had the opportunity to watch baby Archie. So Meghan's focus and Meghan's complete reliance in a lot of ways on Jessica is huge. Jessica helped her make inroads in the Toronto community, helped her social climb and do all the things that Meghan wanted to do. And yet when just a little bit of controversy erupted, Meghan was perfectly happy to drop her like a sack of hot potatoes. I looked into this a little bit, but honestly, I think it's somewhat a hubbubaloo about nothing. But the whole reason Jessica got canceled was it was around the time of all the protests in the summer of 2020, around the BLM movement. And apparently Jessica took offense to what this woman of color posted on Instagram and thought that some reason she was specifically calling out Jessica, which was probably not the case. And so Jessica kind of blew up her instant messages, started saying that she'll contact her sponsors and get her deplatformed or something to that effect. And then had to walk it all back as this woman made it all public. And because of that, Jessica was very quickly dropped from Meghan's life. And while it's understandable that yes, she stepped a foot wrong, when you think about it as well though, think about how close Jessica and Meghan were. They were exceptionally close. So to drop her like it's nothing just feels very odd, very weird, very strange. It feels uncomfortable because yes, somebody makes a mistake, but shouldn't you also be somebody who goes up to them and goes, it's fine, let's move on. They made the wrong mistake. They said the wrong thing. Let's just move on from this situation. But no, perhaps Meghan was looking for an opportunity to drop Jessica because she seems to want to drop everyone. Jessica was no longer what she wanted. Although ironically, Jessica went to some sort of party in the Hamptons with like Katie Couric and a couple of other people. It's like, well, Meghan Markle definitely ain't going to those parties, so maybe Jessica is better off. But it seemed like Meghan, as soon as she didn't need Jessica anymore, she didn't need her connection, she didn't need all these things, she was more than happy to let go of this relationship with this woman that she's had for several years, very, very close. And Jessica was one of the few people, I'm sure, who knew about Harry, knew about the bridesmaids disasters, knew so many secrets. And I have to give Jessica props for not spilling the beans. And perhaps it is Jessica's hoping at one point to get back in Meghan's good graces, or maybe she's just like, I'm over the whole thing and I don't care. But I think it's very clear too that she's taken somewhat the high road until maybe it becomes beneficial for her not to. We'll have to wait and see. Another person who came to Meghan's wedding, and everybody, like, their eyebrows are arched and they're like, why are they there? Was George and Amal Clooney. George Clooney is one of the A-listers of A-listers. He is the creme de la creme. He's sort of the silver prince of Hollywood. And his internationally trained lawyer wife has gone around the world speaking on behalf of human rights issues and those sorts of things. They make a very, very glamorous couple, and they live sometime in the UK. And so it seemed like Harry and Meghan were quite friendly with him. Not only did they come to their wedding, although apparently they really hadn't met before that point. Amal and Meghan just had a hairdresser in common. I don't know about you, but I don't generally invite people who also go to my hairdresser. Now, I don't know the other people who go to my hairdresser, but I want to go into her DMs because she's on Instagram and go, okay, can you invite X person over there? I like their hair. So why don't you invite them to my no, I wouldn't do that. So it was a little odd, but apparently Meghan and Harry were able to go on vacation in Lake Como with George and Amal. And it seemed like this relationship that was budding and building, and especially if Meghan wanted to make inroads in Hollywood, George is probably one of the great people to do that with. He's obviously a producer as well. He's produced projects. He's been involved in a lot of different things and has a huge amount of connections. So Harry and Meghan being friendly with them makes total sense in the life that she was looking to lead. But it doesn't seem like they're friends anymore. When Harry and Meghan had that alleged car chase in New York City, do you know what George and Amal did? Nothing. When Diana died in a car crash in Paris, George Clooney was one of the celebrities who came out very much in force and asking for the paparazzi to be held accountable and what happened, and this is terrible, we can't let this happen again. And you gotta wonder if Meghan was thinking, well, maybe we can get George to say the same thing, but this time about us. We just gotta create the same circumstances as your mother, Harry. That's the way to go. But George didn't say anything. He wasn't that interested, or he just was like everybody else going, what the heck are you two numbskulls doing? We all know you can have a high-speed car chase in Manhattan. You can't even do that like with a movie set. It would be very, very hard. We have to go to Cincinnati. We have to go somewhere else to film something like that because it's very difficult to film in New York City at any time of night. It's a very, very congested place. And so they held up their hands and walked away.
We also have David and Victoria Beckham. It recently came out that apparently David and Victoria are no longer friendly with Harry and Meghan over allegations that the Beckhams were leaking information to the press. Now, this is a regurgitated story. It's technically old news. But I think it goes to show, too, that David and Victoria are just not that interested in continuing their relationship with Harry and Meghan and would much rather keep their dynamic with Catherine and William.
Victoria and David have been after, especially David, a knighthood for years. He has wanted to be called Sir David Beckham for years. This is well known. There was actually a spoof of this in The Windsors, which is a satire series about the royal family. They had this whole thing with David Beckham and about his epic quest to become Sir David Beckham. So this whole story, which is just a regurgitation of what we already know, which is that Harry and Meghan phased out Victoria and David and Victoria did the same, in part because there was this contention over who was leaking to the press. Whereas it's clear Harry and Meghan, I think, are still desperately leaking to the press all the time. And Victoria and David are like, no, again, their whole quest to become Sir David Beckham, I don't think he would risk it by leaking information, especially once he has an inroad. Now, again, I think William and Catherine probably keep David and Victoria at a certain arm's length because of David's interest in his knighthood. But I do think they also do have a friendship, and Victoria and David also know where their bread is buttered. You don't go to the spare when you can have the heir. And that's what I think Meghan Markle also didn't understand about this whole Megxit thing, is that she is the spare's wife. Ergo, everybody will always be like, okay, do I want the people who are irrelevant really? Or do I want to go with the future king and queen? I think I want to go with the future king and queen. That's like not up for negotiation. That was always going to be the case. But Meghan, again, she thought her star power was all that and more. And I don't really think it is. You have Priyanka Chopra, who married Nick Jonas, and she went to the royal wedding. But have we really seen Priyanka around Meghan anymore? No. Has she talked about her? No. Are they friends? I don't think so. If they were at one point, I don't think they are anymore. I also think of Suits. It doesn't seem like anybody from Suits is still all that close with her. Sarah Rafferty, I scrolled through her Instagram once. She posted a lot of things, like a lot of former things about Suits and stuff, but not a lot of them included Meghan. And so I don't think a lot of the people who were on set with Meghan are really that close to her. Yes, they were excited to go to the royal wedding, but they're not seeking out Meghan Markle at any point anymore. And I think this goes back to Meghan Markle's friendships, the foundations of them. They're mutually beneficial relationships of terms of social climbing. Now, look for this video, not guaranteeing that I can find it, but one of Meghan's friends, she's the one who I think actually took the picture of Archie for their first Christmas card with him on it. And she was in this photo call with Ben Affleck, and she's like hanging all over Ben Affleck, even though I think at the time he was in a relationship. And you could just feel her desperation to try to get the media. She was in this movie with Ben Affleck, and she's desperately trying to get them to connect her with Ben Affleck. So she's acting all touchy-feely and everything. I mean, you can just feel it, the machinations to try to get something brewing about her and Ben. And obviously it didn't take off, it didn't have any traction, and maybe that's just how she acts generally. But when I think of Meghan and I think of her friends, I think of them as all basically using each other in a certain way. They're all basically trying to see what is beneficial to these relationships. What can this person give me in terms of what I want? Money, status, social climbing, all these sorts of things. Those are the type of friendships Meghan has. I think overall, they're probably most likely very shallow. And we did have a bit of an indication of this. This woman who had connections with Suits talked about how Meghan's not really somebody you can get to know. There's sort of a glass or veneer there that you really can't break through. And I think that makes sense because Meghan's not this person I think you can really be close friends with, because she's constantly looking for what you can give her. And it's a very selfish style friendship. And once she has no more use for you, or once you step out of line to the point where she really doesn't have any use for you, she's immediately willing to cut you off. And we saw that, of course, with Jessica. And when you think of the royal family as well, they are an extended group, and I don't think Meghan probably really has contact with anyone except for maybe Princess Eugenie. And that's it. I don't think she has contact with anybody else. And they're pretty cool people. Zara Phillips and Mike Tyndall, they seem like uber cool, laid back, fun people. And I think a lot of the royals, yes, they have a very, you could say, stuffy role. And yes, they have to be on all the time. But I think Catherine and William have boatloads of fun. I think they're very friendly, very nice, very cool people to hang out with. But they are also a bit on guard with somebody like Meghan. And because Meghan couldn't seem to break through that veneer very well, or they cited her immediately as somebody who was a user and a social climber, they sort of cut her out, and as a result, she cut them out, because she's more than willing to cut anybody out who does not fit her vision of the world. This happened with her father, her siblings. And when you look at her mom's the only one who's really stood around her, and I've always wondered, why? Because we know there's a lot of confusion over what happened in Meghan's childhood, and it seems very clear that her mother was absent for a good chunk of it, and that she was living full-time with her father. And I know some people say her mom went to prison. I don't particularly believe that. I think Tom Bauer was right. Her mom wanted to check out some business venture, and so she dropped Meghan off with her dad and scuttled off to do whatever she wanted to do. And so I think she's more than willing to play by the party line because it benefits her in some way to do so. And I think Meghan was worried that her father wouldn't do that, which is why she never introduced her father to Harry. Meghan had a vision and a narrative in her head, and she was more than willing to keep her father away from his own grandchildren in order, I think, to abide by that narrative. But what's happening, I think, now is because Meghan Markle seems like somebody who is so toxic, I don't think brands want really anything to do with her, especially when she's reinventing herself for the 20th time. That's what's happening. We're getting all these reports, and most likely it's going to be a relaunch of the TIG later in August, perhaps around her birthday. That's what she'll do because she really doesn't have anything left at this point. With the continuing writers and actors strike, it seems like that's going to go on for quite a while, because part of the contention there is that actors want money for whatever people are watching on streaming services, and they think the streamers aren't giving them the right numbers. The streamers are saying everything's gangbusters, and the actors are like, well, where's my money? Well, the truth seems to be, most likely, is that people are not watching as much as the streamers want people to believe. They're telling the public one thing, knowing another, and now the actors are calling them out on that. And the streamers have to decide, do we want to release the public numbers and tell everybody how badly we're failing here? Or do we want to continue this strike and maybe get them to bend to us? Because at this point, we're losing money anyways. We can sever all these deals we have and we can get in a better spot. I think Harry and Meghan may become a casualty of the writers and actors strike. Even though Meghan is probably technically still part of SAG, they're not technically writers. I think their deal will fall under that hammer. And basically Netflix will be like, we're severing it. But getting back to this idea of Meghan rebranding, reinventing herself, she's done it 20 times now. I feel like all the time we get Meghan's rebranding, Meghan's changing, and I'm like, okay, so if you have to rebrand 12,000 times, yes, rebranding is part of growing, but usually you stay within. Like for me, we have a little bit of rebrand. I've offered membership. So if people want some more things from Royal News Network, some more exclusive content, videos, live streams, there are options for that you can check out. Obviously, if you don't want to, Royal News Network will still stay the same. But for those who want maybe a little bit more, there are membership options available, and that's part of growing and expanding and evolving the brand. But Meghan wants to reinvent the brand all the time. I'm sure we'll see perhaps a whole different style wardrobe from Meghan, maybe a different hairstyle, something to capitulate and connect in our minds that Meghan's rebranding. It's new Meghan, it's new Meghan, it's new Meghan. But the problem is that because this seemingly happens all the time, I think it's become really abundantly clear that the issue is Meghan. It's kind of like if somebody gets divorced 4 times. Well, the first time, maybe it's mutual. The second time, well, maybe sort of. But by the third time, the issue in the marriage is probably you. Now, that's not to say that's always not 100% the case, but the more that goes on, the more likely it's you in the situation that's becoming part of the problem. So Meghan is very much, I feel like, in that same vein as well. Because Meghan is constantly reinventing herself, there's obviously an internal issue with Meghan and Meghan's image. It's not us outside that are the issue, which I'm sure Meghan blames, like the public doesn't understand her. That's why she has to explain herself, and the whole collapse with the royal family 12 times because we don't believe her, and she still thinks if she badgers us again and again and about it, maybe sometime we'll finally believe her in her version of events. But the problem is that isn't working. But Meghan has this vision of herself, and it is colliding now with reality, and reality isn't going well. So she's like, well, I'll change myself again. But the problem is Meghan herself has not changed. She has not changed her attitude. She has not changed her actions. She has not changed how she deals with people. I think for Harry and Meghan, the best PR move they could possibly do in the world right now is reconcile with the royal family. Now I know some people are like, well, the royal family shouldn't take them back. They shouldn't let them in at all. But if Harry and Meghan came to the royals, came to the British public, apologized and reconciled, that would do wonders for their brand. Wonders. Can't even tell you how well that would do. Because Americans in particular, hey, we like a good forgiveness story. We like somebody who changes in a good way, who decides that yes, they've done wrong and they're going to change their life and they're going to have these relationships. But Meghan Markle can't do that. She can't admit fault. She can't admit that any of this catastrophe of her life basically at this point is her fault. It has to be everybody else's. And when she could do the simplest thing, which is ask for forgiveness and be welcomed back in to a certain extent to the royal fold. Now, I know, again, some of you will protest, but hear me out. It would help Harry and Meghan so much as they go down this track and continue to try to make it on their own. Because I don't think anybody's biting Meghan's brand partnerships, brand deals, anything like that. I don't think that many people are interested anymore. She's become too toxic. And even as she reinvents herself one more time, she's still not doing the basic thing that could help her the most, which is reconcile again with the royal family, perhaps Jessica, reinvent herself by showing that she is compassionate, that she can be forgiving, that she can be welcoming, even in imperfect situations. But for Meghan Markle, it seems like everything has to be done her way or the highway. And if you can't get something done her way, she freaks out about it. She can't deal with it. And so this whole cacophony and catastrophe of Harry and Meghan can be laid at the feet of Harry and Meghan, but especially Meghan and her markling. Being markled has become a term because of Meghan. And this ghosting practice has not stopped with her. And if she can't get that under control, I don't think any of that will change. Of course, she can have a friendship with Gayle King and Oprah Winfrey. That's not an issue at all. But she also needs to make amends with the people she has hurt. So that would be David and Victoria Beckham, the royal family, George and Amal, Jessica Mulroney. They have to start there. Changing really our perception of them doesn't start with Meghan showing us the TIG, which is basically a reframing of Goop. So Meghan really is up a creek without a paddle at this point. Until she can get her own markling under control, Meghan will still suffer and be challenged by the collapsing of her brand, something that she can't really get out of. So guys, let me know what you think of this video. Let me know what you think of Meghan's markling and how she continues to markle herself. It's rather ironic. So many things about Harry and Meghan have such irony attached to them. So guys, thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye.